I want to start with a question. Have you ever been in a situation where someone hasn't replied to your message for a few hours and suddenly your brain goes into a full investigation mode? You open the chat again, you read your last message. Was that too much? You check when they were last online. Wait, they were online 20 minutes ago. Then the spiral starts. Are they losing interest? Maybe, did I say something wrong? Maybe they realized I'm not what they want. And what's strange is that logically, this reaction might be a bit intense, but emotionally, it feels very real. If you recognize this feeling, there is a good chance you might have an anxious attachment style. And the tricky part is that people with anxious attachment often don't realize it at first. They usually think, I just care a lot. I'm just very emotional. I just want clarity. But there are some very specific patterns that show up again and again. So let's talk about 7 signs you might be anxiously attached in a relationship. Not in a judgmental way, but in a way that might help you understand why relationships sometimes feel so emotionally intense.
Sign number 1. You feel calm when the relationship feels secure, but extremely anxious when it doesn't. When things are good between you and someone, you feel amazing, relaxed, warm, connected. But the moment something feels uncertain, everything changes. A delayed message, a slightly different tone, a cancelled plan. And suddenly your mood shifts completely. You might go from feeling happy to feeling deeply anxious within minutes. People with anxious attachment are very sensitive to changes in connection. Your emotional system is constantly scanning for signals like, are we okay? Are they still into me? And if the answer feels unclear, you might start searching for certainty.
Sign number 2, you often need reassurance. Not once, not twice, but regularly. You might ask things like, are you sure you're not upset? Do you still like me? Is everything okay between us? And sometimes the other person reassures you. They say yes. They hug you. They tell you everything is fine. And for a moment, you feel better. But the relief doesn't always last very long. A day later, the doubt can come back. And then you might need reassurance again. It's not because you're trying to be difficult. It's because your nervous system is trying to restore a sense of safety in the connection.
Sign number 3, you overanalyze small things. Tone of voice, reply times, the number of emojis in a message. You might notice things like, they used to send heart emojis, now they don't. They say good night differently tonight. They used to text first in the morning. Most people wouldn't ever notice these things. But when you're anxious attached, your brain becomes incredibly good at spotting micro changes in behavior. The problem is that once you notice them, you start creating stories about what they mean. And those stories are usually not very reassuring.
Sign number 4, you sometimes feel like you care more than the other person. This is a feeling many anxious people describe. You might think, I feel like I'm always the one trying more. Maybe you're the one initiating conversations, planning time together, checking in emotionally. And when that effort isn't mirrored, it can feel painful. You might start wondering, am I too much? Am I asking for too much? But often, what's really happening is that you're putting a lot of energy into maintaining emotional closeness because closeness feels like safety.
Sign number 5. When someone pulls away, you feel an urge to chase. This is one of the clearest signs. If someone becomes a bit distant, many people instinctively give space. But with anxious attachment, the reaction is often the opposite. You feel an urge to text more, clarify things, fix the distance, reconnect as quickly as possible. Your brain is basically saying, something feels wrong, we need to solve this immediately. But sometimes this can create a cycle when the more you try to pull someone closer, the more they step back.
Sign number 6. You sometimes ignore your own needs to keep the relationship. You might tolerate things that don't actually feel good, mixed signals, inconsistent communication, emotional distance, and part of you knows something isn't quite right. But another part of you thinks, if I just stay patient, maybe things will get better. Or I don't want to lose them. So instead of stepping back, you often try harder because losing the connection can feel incredibly painful.
Sign number 7. Relationship can feel like an emotional roller coaster. When things feel good, they feel really good. You feel close, safe, excited. But when something feels uncertain, it can trigger a lot of anxiety. And that emotional swing from connection to fear can be exhausting. Many people with anxious attachment describe relationships as something that takes up a huge amount of mental space. You think about the person a lot, you analyze interaction, you reply conversations, your brain is constantly trying to understand where you stand.
Absolutely. If you recognize yourself in several of these signs, there is something important to say. Anxious attachment doesn't mean there is something wrong with you. It usually means that somewhere in your emotional history, connection felt uncertain. So your system learned to pay very close attention to relationships. The good news is that awareness changes everything because once you start recognizing these patterns, you stop believing every anxious thought your brain produces, and relationships slowly stop feeling like something you have to fight to keep. They start feeling like something that can actually be safe and steady.